This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
You know, it was really great to see real, live Lions football finally back. I feel like it's been ages.
Was it, though?
Okay, I get it. Preseason, not that exciting, but you know what? It at least increases the excitement level for football season.
Yeah.
Obviously, guys, this is the Fan Report where it's by fans.
For fans.
We're on episode number 170. We didn't do anything fun for episode 169.
Well, it's because it's not 69, it's 169.
We also didn't even mention number 69 because I remember my girlfriend yelled at me about that. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew.
Nice to meet you guys.
For the 170th time. You can follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. You know, give us topic ideas, banter with us, shit talk us. I don't care. We are brought to you by Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast on Twitter. Always grateful for those guys in producing what we do here. Without them, well, a lot of this wouldn't really be possible. So we have many thanks to them. But it is good to have football back.
Yeah.
In a short couple of weeks, we will be having regular season football.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
We will be having college football. Football's back, and it's a damn good feeling. And when
start being able to bet on football.
Yeah, that's.
I'm sorry,
I can't
neither
wait.
of us are degenerates enough to bet on preseason football.
I am not. I don't think I've ever bet on a preseason game, and I don't think I ever will. I however, bet on
I
the
would have
regular
to stage an intervention with you if I found out you were betting on preseason games.
I wouldn't blame you. I'd probably agree with you. If it happened and I'd walked into an intervention like, dude, you have a problem, I'd probably be like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I bet on the preseason. That was it. That was the look myself in the mirror moment. But with the NFL season also comes shortly thereafter the start of the NBA season, the NHL season, the wind down of the Tiger season because, well, they're not even fun to watch right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, the winter's going to be a fun time in this town, sports-wise.
Yeah.
We have three teams that are not only going to be in games, but competing. And potentially we could see three teams competing for, playing meaningful games late in the winter. And is there anything more, realistically speaking, that we could ask for in this town other than to be playing meaningful games from our three winter sports teams? Well, one fall technically, but fall to winter to our two winter sports teams late in the winter time?
No, considering what we've had in this city for the last at least 5+ years, no, not too much to ask at all.
Well, realistically speaking, playing meaningful games is a huge step up for any of our teams, any of them.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what we said are our expectations for the Pistons. I do have that set as my expectations for the Red Wings. And if you're hitting the Lions over in terms of win total, you probably are playing meaningful games in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
Things are turning around in this town, and I'm all for it. I'm here for it. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. This is one of the most excited I've been for a fall to winter sports season in almost a decade.
I've never been actually anticipating a schedule release.
Honestly, I don't think I have either.
And right now I'm anticipating the Pistons schedule release. We always get a little bit
excited about the Lions schedule release because I don't actually understand why. We just do.
But I'm literally anticipating, to the point where I've tracked down what time they might be rumored into a date and time they might be announcing the schedule, which by the time this goes live, I'm thinking it's going to be have been released.
Now, the NBA schedule release matters far less than the NFL schedule release, right?
I'm anticipating it because that means tickets are about to go on sale, and I could probably buy some tickets.
How many games are we going to this year?
I mean, I went to 9 or 10 last year. I expect to at least match that number.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. I'd like to go to a few more than I got to last year. I think I only went to a few last year, unfortunately, but I'd like to go to. I'd like to try to hit double digits this year.
Yeah,
at least. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to do the same for the Red Wings, also. Honestly.
Yeah.
Just because I love watching that team play. I've always been a huge Wings fan, so to go along with Pistons, Lions, Tigers, all of them, I love my Detroit sports. But so, wait, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well,
what do we got on the schedule here?
We can start off with the boring stuff, which is reacting to Lions preseason because it's preseason. Just super high level takeaways. I mean, I personally only watched like the first quarter and part of the second quarter, and then I couldn't really do it much.
Well, I mean, that was all that was really truly worth watching because that was all that the starters played.
And all I was really even watching for was, does Okuda make an impact? Do I see anything out of Aiden Hutchinson? Does the offensive line, well, one, play together, and two, look good playing together? Two of those things happen. One of those things I don't know because I didn't see Jeff Okuda, which I guess is a good sign. I barely noticed him.
To give you an idea, Jeff Okuda, from what I remember, right, got burned on one play by Kadero Hodge. But other than that, he tackled okay. He played okay. He did get burned by Kadero Hodge on a play. Former Lion Kadero Hodge, which you don't want to see your number 3 overall pick from.
How did that happen?
It was a 12-yard play. It wasn't a chunk play. It was a 12-yard play. But he beat him. You don't want to see that a guy like Kadero Hodge beating your number 3 overall pick. Granted, coming off an Achilles, it's not his fault. He was drafted number 3 overall. You don't want to see that out of your number 2 corner, getting beat by guys by the name of Kadero Hodge. That's like saying you don't want to see Marquez Valdez-Scantling absolutely torching you for damn near triple digits in yards, and that's what happened 2 years ago.
Jesus, don't remind me. But yeah, like the opening offensive drive was solid. It's what we expected out of this offense, and the opening defensive drive was what we expected out of this defense. So
pretty much.
I did like seeing Aiden Hutchinson make a big play for that tackle for a loss in the backfield.
I'll tell you what.
That was fun to see.
If he is able to continue to adjust to how offensive lines game plan for him, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
He's got extreme quickness off the line. He's great in run stopping off the edge. He can get into the backfield and create problems. He may not have huge sack numbers this year, but he could very well possibly still have a really good season by creating problems, getting to the quarterback, getting some hits, getting some QB rushes, forcing a run to cut back that wasn't supposed to into the teeth of the line, which, albeit looked terrible against the Falcons, the teeth of the line, the interior looked terrible. But for the most part, Aiden Hutchinson, even let's say he hits only 6 sacks this year. I think it's a very realistic possibility that he only gets 6-7 sacks this year, but he still has a really good season because he's a problem. He forces the run to go away from him. He forces the quarterback to rush a throw or take a hit. Pressure. Penetration. Forces him out of the pocket. Cuts off half the field from the QB's vision. That's impactful for an edge rusher to do, and I absolutely think Aiden Hutchinson's a guy that can do that for sure. What did you think of Devin Funchess catching a touchdown pass from none other than Tim? I don't have a nickname for him, Boyle.
It's a name I haven't heard in quite some time.
Same. But do you think that actually helps Devin Funchess' stock in making this roster? He caught 4 balls for 19 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's how
all 4 of his targets he caught.
When you're a fringe player, that's how you help your stock is perform in the preseason. So yeah, I think it absolutely helps him. There's a wide open slot as backup tight end. So
I don't actually think there is.
Why? Who's there?
Brock Wright. I
Not
think
familiar with
he's
the name.
got it locked in, doesn't he? Or is it Garrett Griffin? I can't remember, but I remember it being pretty like locked in by somebody. I'm pretty sure it's Brock Wright. I could be wrong, but anyways, you're right about like fringe players needing to make plays to hit the roster. Like Tom Kennedy helped his stock in a big way, 8 catches for 104 yards.
Yep.
Like he was as fringe gets at the wide receiver position, and having an 8-catch, 100-yard ball game is going to help that stock in a big way. Khalif Raymond played pretty well, 2 for 52. Trinity Benson caught a nice ball of 24 yards. Like those guys are all fringe roster wide receivers. Like that wide receiver room is going to get crowded. And especially knowing that Jameson Williams is coming on too.
Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait to see DJ Chark, Jameson Williams, Josh Reynolds, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, oh my God, is that going to be fun? And then you got Swift out of the backfield and Hawkinson across the middle. I'll tell you what. I expect this year to be a career year for TJ Hawkinson. I don't think there's any excuses available to him anymore here. He's
What about for DeAndre Swift?
Both of them, really. Neither one of them should have an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Because they've got an offensive line in regards to Swift and Goff, for that matter. Hawkinson's got help out wide to force the defense to not just hover across the middle and stop him from making a play there. He's gonna have room to operate across the middle.
Yeah. I don't
going
disagree.
up against either smaller safeties or slower linebackers. He should be able to dominate the middle of the field this year. I'm excited for it. I truly believe that this is going to be a huge year for TJ Hawkinson. And big thanks to, one, the O-line for being as good as they are. We hope, anyways. And two, for the presence of DJ Chark, Jameson Williams, St. Brown, and Josh Reynolds. Like, provided they're all able to stay healthy, that's kind of a formidable receiving core. That's nothing to just laugh at. That's pretty dangerous.
Have you heard the rumor that's been going around that the Lions may be trading for Mason Rudolph?
I have heard that. I find it interesting, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact are finally starting to realize that their backup quarterback situation is quite possibly the worst in the league.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me because like Mason Rudolph sucks and he's still a vast improvement over our backup quarterbacks.
Oh, it's not even a question if he's better than those two guys. Like, it's an obvious answer.
He looks like Tom Brady in comparison to Tim Boyle.
Yes. Like, it's a serious improvement to grab Mason Rudolph over Tim Boyle and David Blau. No question about it.
Yeah.
Blau's not good. Tim Boyle somehow is even worse.
Just
So looking at,
I would honestly, it's a question for you.
yeah,
Would you give up legitimate assets though to bring Mason Rudolph in?
I'd give up a late round pick for him, like a 5th or later.
So you give up a 2023 fifth for Mason Rudolph? Okay.
Yeah, why not 5th or later? Because in all reality, what are you getting out of that 5th round pick? A backup quarterback? I mean, yeah,
Hopefully.
you can get a roster linebacker or a roster corner or a roster wide receiver. Yeah, they are in there, but that's also an area where backup quarterbacks tend to come from. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you saw the news today, and I haven't seen an update, but we were just talking about how good this offensive line is, provided they stay healthy. Well, they just had their first knock today.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Big Papa V, hello. I can't even say his name.
Vaitai. Just say Vaitai.
Yeah.
Just say Vaitai.
Hala Pulivatsi Vaitai did leave practice today with an injury. I have not heard anything since. Let me see if I can find something real quick. But he did leave practice today. So that obviously
Did
is.
they mention like if it was a serious injury or just like
All I saw was that he left practice.
tweaked his ankle? Just gonna rest it for a little bit, you know. It says for an unknown reason.
Yeah.
That's what I'm reading.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm reading too.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just hope. I mean, you guys probably have the answer by the time this comes out, but let's just hope it's something serious.
That was actually as of yesterday, Monday, he left practice. So hopefully he's healthy and enough to come back pretty soon. So we'll see. But another thing that I would find to be a little bit concerning is we mentioned how the interior of that defensive line was not good. They really didn't show much effectiveness, and that's referring to Aleem McNeil and company. Mm-hmm. There was another name that we were looking forward to seeing this year that we haven't gotten to during camp so far, and it's Levi Onwuzurike. Is it Onwuzurike or Onwuzurike? I think it's Onwuzurike. Yet to show up to camp from injury as of last year, or the offseason. I believe he had a hip surgery or something. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he has practiced at all. Does that worry you at all? That this Lions defensive line and primarily the interior of it is a little bit thin, and what they do have hasn't really shown up? And do you expect to see more from Michael Brockers as a result in that position?
Well, to start, I'm not entirely worried because the reports I've seen have pointed to Onwuzurike coming back at some point during the preseason. So, or at least be ready for week 1, So I fully expect.
But even last year, we didn't really get to see much of him because of the injury concerns.
But I liked what I did see when I saw him, so.
Fair.
And then, but in general, the performance of the interior line, I mean, it's still a position on the team that I didn't have high hopes for, and I was hoping they'd prove me wrong, very limited time in the first game of preseason. Nothing to make me panic or anything, but I'm just hoping I see a little more from them in the coming games.
I agree with you.
Or else I will panic. If it's a repeated pattern for all 4 games of preseason or 3 games if they don't play one, then I might start getting a little bit nervous.
Did you know what the Lions had Mike Hughes on their roster this year? Do you remember who Mike Hughes was?
Name's ringing a bell.
The cornerback from the 2018 draft from the University of Central Florida that was like a stud, just a little bit undersized.
Yep.
Went to Minnesota. Yeah, I forgot the Lions signed him this offseason. That'll be an interesting addition to the
we also have his brother on the team, too.
We have what?
We also have his brother on the team, too.
We do?
Juju Hughes, the free safety.
Is he actually his brother?
No, I just...
Okay. I was like, wait, what?
I have no... He could be. I have no idea.
Obviously, you don't really want to take too much out of preseason games. I would have liked to see... Does the fact that Desmond Ridder was able to put up some numbers against us worry you at all? I mean, in terms of completion percentage, he was not good. He did put up 2 touchdowns to no picks, but he also ran for 6 carries for 59 yards. Does that worry you at all that Desmond Ridder was able to make something happen?
No, I'm not. Again, I'm not taking much account of preseason stats, but I already knew, again, in general, the linebacking core, which is what would stop a scrambling quarterback week, and the secondary week, which is what stop the passing game. So, I'm expecting quarterbacks to have big games against us. That I don't have high hopes for this defense in general. So it's hard to. I'm going in with the philosophy of have low expectations. That way you can't be let down.
It's nice to see Marcus Mariota playing, getting some meaningful snaps again. Yeah. I always liked Marcus Mariota.
I had forgotten about him in general. I'm like, oh shit, it's.
So with that being said, we did see Drake London get hurt in this game and not return. Does that at all make you feel like we shouldn't be playing guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson, some of these guys that are really critical to this team, including the offensive line?
I agree. I understand if you want to throw them out there for a drive to get some reps in, but even then,
isn't that how much a drive is what got Drake London hurt, though?
But that's what I'm saying. How much is a drive really going to help?
Right. I mean, it might for the rookies to get some actual live
rookies,
speed.
yeah.
Or
you just like Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown and like those guys. Like, no.
In my opinion, guys like St. Brown don't need it. Guys like Jared Goff don't need it because, frankly, half the time they don't even practice or practice lightly during the regular season.
There's two guys who need it that come at top of mind for me.
Who do you
Aiden Hutchinson, Jeff Okuda.
Sure. I would say Malcolm Rodriguez could use it.
And insert other rookies here.
Yeah, insert other rookies here. I would say rookies could use it at least for a game or two.
Rookies plus Jeff Okuda.
And yes, who effectively is kind of a rookie because he still has yet to play a full season of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, that the fact that Desmond Ridder was able to move the ball and then eventually get the game-winning touchdown or throw the game-winning touchdown in this one does kind of worry me about the depth of this roster. It kind of tells me that they are razor thin behind the starters. There's not a lot of talent depth-wise with this team. And yes, I know we knew that. I can look at the depth chart and
tell you that.
Right, we knew that defensively especially, but it's really kind of glaring when you see a guy like Desmond Ridder drive down the field at the end of the game and get a game-winning touchdown late. For that to happen with this Falcons team, that's not good. Because it's not like the Falcons are any good.
Yeah.
They're not expected to be good. And they're not going to be good. So that's quite a bit concerning if you ask me. But again, it's preseason, so you really can't take too much out of it. But something to keep an eye on for sure. So when is the Lions' next preseason game here?
1 o'clock on Saturday against the Colts.
1 o'clock Saturday against Indy. Okay. Are you looking for anything out of that game?
Nothing different than I was looking for out of this game. I'm going to try to have my eye on Jeff Okuda. You know, the broadcast isn't too friendly when you're trying to watch corners.
No, it's not. I will say this. The one thing I want to see out of this game is everybody stays healthy.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, I'd like to see the interior defensive line play a little bit better this week. I don't expect
they're going up against a good O-line, though.
They are going up against good O-line, which would, if they were to look a little bit better, that may make me feel even better. That may make me feel good. I don't know how much to expect to see the starters in this one. This is technically kind of like the second to last preseason game, so we might see the starters go a little bit more extended here.
Yep.
As the quote-unquote dress rehearsal, so to speak. But I would rather
usually the final game, they don't even touch the field.
Right. I would rather them just not touch the field or touch the field for maybe a sequence or a drive and call it a day and move on. But who knows? I'm not real sure what we're going to see out of Dan Campbell and the guys here. But hopefully everybody stays healthy and we move on into the next week and then the regular season.
I think it's enough preseason talk.
I agree with you. So, obviously, we recorded before the first episode of Hard Knocks was released last week. And again, this week, we are recording before the second episode is released. So, not really a great time frame, but I still think it's worth talking about because, one, it's kind of the big story with this Lions team right now. And two, it's just fun. So, what was your favorite part of the Hard Knocks episode 1?
It's going to have to be a tie between the Jamal Williams speech, which you saw like an extended version of it in the show that
you did see
what they released online.
But I want to say it was the full speech, but I don't really know for sure.
And the full speech of what would be released from the speech, at least.
Yeah.
And then obviously Aiden Hutchinson and Billie Jean, that was awesome.
My favorite parts were probably, I gotta go with what we talked about last week in the Deuce Staley AG or the Deuce Staley Aaron Glenn kind of banter going back and forth. That was just a ton of fun. Like even when they were in their own like solo interviews talking, like that was fun.
I saw comments online saying like they need to be focusing on the player instead of jawing with one another. I'm like, y'all gonna find something wrong with everything, aren't you? Like,
those players like when those two go at it though. Like they feed off. Do you not
realize they're doing that after the play?
Right. And honestly, like They're former players.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They go at it with each other. They battle.
Yeah.
Speaking of, the Lions have so many former players as coaches on this roster, like position coaches.
Yeah.
Like it is Mark Brunell, quarterback coach. Deuce Staley, running back coach. Antoine Randall, wide receivers coach. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator.
Yeah, when we did
and that's not even all of them. I'm pretty sure the offensive line coach was a former player.
When we did the episode on the coaching hires that Dan Campbell was bringing in, that was one of the things that said that one of the reasons I loved it was because I wanted more former players, coaches on this team. I have a bias towards former players, coaches, just because they earn the respect of have an easier time earning the respect of the locker room. I know not all of them have the greatest track record, but
oh yeah, Dan Campbell's former player. But I'll say this: as head coaches, I disagree with you. Head coaches that are former players do not have a great track record. Position coaches do have a good track record as coaches, though, as former players.
Yeah, because a lot of times they actually play the position they're coaching.
Yes, but generally speaking, the coaches that have the most success in the NFL, a lot of them are not former players in the league.
Imagine me walking up to a bunch of old linemen trying to teach them about three technique. Like, dude, I can tell you never played a snap at a line in your life. Stop telling me how to do that.
I almost feel like you have to be a former player to be a position coach.
Yeah.
But anyways, I did love like I said, I love the banter. One thing I found kind of interesting, though.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of Deuce Staley. We saw a lot of Aaron Glenn. We saw a lot of Mark Brunell. We saw a lot of Dan Campbell.
As we should. If Dan Campbell was suspiciously missing from episode 1,
we even saw quite a bit of Hank Fraley, who is the Lions' offensive line coach, who was also a former player. There's kind of one glaring omission from somebody we did not see or hear from at all. Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator. Why do you think that is?
Outside of the Deuce Staley, Aaron Glenn banter, I noticed in general we didn't spend too much time with the offense.
There was a lot of talk of Deuce Staley. There was a lot of talk with Deuce Staley.
I'm saying outside of the Deuce Staley, Aaron Glenn banter.
Not even with just the banter, though. When you got a lot of Mark Brunell and Hank Fraley, what do you mean? I saw a lot of Mark Brunell one-on-ones and a few Hank Fraley one-on-ones. There was some offensive talk. You got a lot of Mark Brunell in that.
I noticed like most of the episode felt like it was Dan Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson. Then you had a little bit of the banter. Dan
Campbell be more of an offensive guy? He played tight end.
Well, he's the head coach. It's a neutral.
Yes.
But no, like, we still have a few more episodes to go. It's still episode 1. We're not going to profile everybody in the one episode. Does it concern me? I don't know what to be concerned about for it to concern me.
If you're getting concerned about Ben Johnson not being featured in Hard Knocks, please,
that's what I'm saying.
You're looking too far into it. I just thought it was kind of interesting that we saw all this screen time for the running backs coach, the offensive line coach, the quarterback coach, the defensive coordinator, the wide receivers coach, even like we saw a lot of Antoine Randall. We actually saw more offensive, the linebacker coach.
Yeah, maybe he's
another
just
former player, by the way.
Maybe he's just not entertaining enough to put on TV. Maybe he's like a Bill Belichick type.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking is maybe he's just not like an entertaining personality in front of the camera, I'm guessing. But I thought it was kind of interesting. And from what I've heard is Ben Johnson is a very creative guy, a very creative play caller. So that's something that I think is going to be exciting. We need that here in this town.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of interesting. I do have one more question for you. This was a little bit more fun. What did you like more? Aiden Hutchinson singing Billie Jean or Malcolm Rodriguez doing the salsa?
Aiden Hutchinson singing Billie Jean.
I don't know. I enjoyed.
You
Malcolm
asked me what
Rodriguez's
my
dance.
favorite moments of the show in general were, and I said Hutchinson singing Billie Jean. It was just hype.
True. It was hype. It was. Excuse me. I have an ice cube in my mouth. It was a lot of fun seeing Aiden Hutchinson kind of come out of a shell and do the Billie Jean dance and song, and singing with it. I also heard that Jamison Williams had his own moment.
Oh,
He did a rap. I heard that
they just didn't show it.
I don't know if they haven't shown it yet and they plan to later, or if it's not going to be shown at all. But he did a rap for the team. Jared Goff actually talked about that this morning on 97.1.
Interesting.
On the Stony.
Did he say if it was any good?
Stony and Jansen show.
Did he say if it was any good?
He said as
J-Mo
they all
looks like
do,
he'd be a mumble rapper. I'm gonna be honest.
he said as they all do, and I quote, and I'm probably paraphrasing still here, but as they all do, he got some boos and some cheers, but everybody's the same way.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think Dan Campbell knew they were doing 40 straight down ups when he decided to join the drill?
I thought it was Dan Campbell who mandated the 40. I think he knew they were because didn't he say he didn't know they were doing them all at once?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that 40 straight. That's what I'm saying.
I
do you think he knew?
I think he even said I didn't know we were doing them all at once. He did talk about how he fell in his house and hurt his wrist. Though. I thought that was kind of funny.
That's what confuses me though, because like you said, like I feel like Dan Campbell would be the one that mandate the down ups. So like, who's
a conditioning coach? You could make an argument would
the conditioning coach is the one that's like, yeah, we're doing them all at once, not sets of 10.
It is nice to see Dan Campbell doing down ups with the team. That is a lot of down ups, yes, or up downs, whatever they call them.
We call them down ups in football.
We did call them down ups in high school, and they call them up downs on with that team. But it was a fun episode. Like I enjoyed it. I got some laughs out of it. It was fun seeing everybody. It was nice. Do you think it's difficult for a quarterback coach who's a lefty to teach right-handed quarterbacks? Do you think there's some kind of like inherent? Because Brunel was a lefty.
Having never been a quarterback, I don't know if I could properly answer that question. I don't
okay. I played baseball and I pitched and whatever. I would find it kind of hard to teach a lefty.
Well, what's the difference in other than like? Yeah, I know there's difference in like if you're a lefty pitcher pitching to a left-handed batter versus right-handed batter, but
teaching something
just in general pitching
is always
technique
more difficult. And if you're trying to teach it to them in their slot, like in their arm. You may look a little bit awkward doing it, so you may not be able to get your point across.
Well, can't you teach them in your arm and have them like in their head mirror what you're doing?
But then, are you able to fully get the point across? You know what I mean? Like you're adding a level of complication there in their brains where you're trying to teach muscle memory, but adding an extra hurdle there by trying to get their brain to mirror it. Like it just seems like it'd be a couple roadblocks. I thought it was interesting that our quarterback coach is a lefty, and obviously all of our quarterbacks are righties. There's not a lot of lefty QBs in the league outside of Tua, I believe. He might even be the only starting quarterback that is a lefty. Yeah. Obviously, you have the big names like Michael.
Well, the other thing that they teach, that I'm assuming quarterback coaches teach, is like reading offenses, reading defenses and stuff too. So like,
well, yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah. But I mean, I noticed it in Hard Knocks where they were talking about where he was showing him a drill with his right hand. He was doing it right-handed. And I was like, wasn't Mark Brunell a lefty? And then they showed highlights of Mark Brunell, and he was a lefty. I just thought it was kind of interesting. But no, it was a fun episode. I enjoyed it a lot. I got some good laughs out of it. It was great seeing Deuce Staley and Aaron Glenn go at it. I did find it, like, one thing I found interesting is, okay, Aaron Glenn was calling the plays for the defense in practice, and Deuce Staley was for the offense. Where was Ben Johnson? Because that's DC and running backs coach. That's not DC and OC.
That is a good question. Maybe Ben Johnson was sick that day or something. I don't know. Maybe he had COVID.
Maybe, I don't know. But I thought that was kind of weird. And I know Deuce Staley is more than just a running backs coach with this team, just like he was with the Eagles. He has a lot of say with the offense, as he should. He's a really good offensive mind. But
all I know is I want to see them on the sidelines in an actual game joining each other, too.
Yes, please.
They better keep that energy.
They're going to pull a full-on, remember the Titans. You better get that defense going, coach. Obviously, the second episode drops tonight. Anything you're looking to see more of? Anything you're looking to see that we haven't seen yet?
Well, I haven't even watched the trailer for the second episode because I'm trying to go in. Like, I feel like I knew a lot of the first episode before I turn the episode
I did
on.
notice that from
So
the amount of videos I had seen.
But like, I'm just curious because again, I haven't watched past seasons of Hard Knocks, so I don't know. Like, is this prepping for the preseason game? Like, is that what first preseason game? Is that what they cover here? Like, if so, I'm very curious to see if we get kind of like an inside look at a film room, like how much of a film deep dive to do for the preseason. Also, kind of curious to just see get an inside look how the team actually preps for
A game day.
Yeah, for a game day.
It's kind of I like.
And I guess if you want to look for specific like players, I want to do a deep dive on. I'm looking for Jeff Okuda. Like, I really.
I'll be honest with you. I am not gonna take anything constructive on
not
any
constructive
player individual for Hard Knocks.
I'm not saying it that way. I'm just saying Jeff Okuda's a storyline I'd be interested in seeing. Like that. I'm assuming they're going to cover Jeff Okuda. So I'm kind of serious.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be surprised if they don't at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I won't be surprised. Sorry, I won't be surprised if they don't because I feel like the Lions probably even told them like this guy's got to be laser focused. Don't distract him. So I can see a situation where they don't really cover him very much. I'd like to see, because I know that the offensive line room is always just a bunch of weirdos. I'd like to see some of the banter and the fun little joking around that those guys do together. I've heard that room is interesting. Speaking of which, did you see the video of Deuce Staley telling a player not to fart in his film room or his meeting room?
Yep.
I found that hilarious. I also want to see a little bit more from Jared Goff and just kind of how he's getting ready for the season. I know he spent a lot of time out in California. That's where he lives, if I recall. And he had a lot of the wide receivers out there. I want to see how he's developing his relationships with some of these receivers, especially the new ones like DJ Chark. I want to see... Give me something with Ben Johnson. Just something. I
can tell you want to see Ben Johnson.
I do. Just because I want it, because I hear all this stuff about him being this creative dude, and I haven't even so much as seen him on the camera.
Yeah.
Apparently, so Jared Goff admitted this morning on the interview with 97.1 that when his first Hard Knocks, when he was a rookie in L.A., or it would have been, was it L.A. then, or was it still St. Louis back then? I can't remember, but in 2018, when Jeff Fisher was still the coach, apparently Jeff Fisher said he hated the rookie tradition of getting up and doing a performance in front of the team, so they didn't do it.
Of course he did.
So Jared Goff never had his rookie moment. I feel like the team should make him have one.
Of course he did.
Jeff Fisher just seemed like he was no fun. Always went 8-8, always disappointed. Doesn't let the rookies do their performance. He's just no fun. So I feel like the team should pressure Jared Goff into doing one. I feel like that'd be kind of funny.
That would be funny. Disrespect the quarterback. I'll let us do it.
Honestly, it would make me... If there was one thing I would take out of something like that, if he did do it, it would make me believe that the chemistry with this team is at a high. And that there is a bit of a culture here, because that would tell me that he's comfortable, he's gonna have fun with his teammates, and he's engaged with his teammates, and he's there to be a leader, and that's something that I would take out of if he were to do that. If he doesn't, it's not gonna, I don't care. Who cares? Yeah. But there is some positives to take out of that. So move
on to the Pistons.
Let's move on to the Pistons here.
Alrighty. I want to start with an interesting article that dropped today where, it's been a series that David Aldridge has been doing, basically ranking NBA teams by their offseason, by the offseason they had. Just out of curiosity, before I give you the actual ranking, would you say the Pistons fall in the bottom 10, middle 10, top 10?
Now, is this a ranking on how the team is as of now, like where he thinks they rank, or just based on like performance in the offseason?
Just performance in the offseason.
I'd say probably middle 10.
Top 10.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that. I like
10, number 10 to be specific.
Now, let me ask you this. If the trade for Jeremy Grant didn't turn into Jalen Duren, like we didn't turn that 2025 pick around for Jalen Duren, how far does that knock the Pistons down?
I think it knocks them down at least to the
late teens.
Yeah, late teens.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
I mean, one of the first things that Aldridge says in his write-up is they didn't do what many thought they were planning to do, which is throw a max offer sheet at DeAndre Ayton. Instead, they swapped a whole lot of spare parts of future draft picks with New York. At the end of it all, the Pistons got the player with the biggest upside in Jalen Duren, the freshman big who was credibly compared to Chris Webber pre-draft. I don't know if he quite has the offensive game of Chris Webber, but we'll see. But one thing that I thought was very interesting in David Aldridge's write-up was he said, Detroit may now have the best collection of under 25 talent in the league. Well, do you agree with that statement?
No, we've done this before.
Yeah,
we went through this ranking.
He cited Cunningham, Ivy, Sadiq, Isaiah, and Duren as that collection of under 25 talent.
Like I said, we went through this list, and the answer is really no. Like there are teams that have better under 25 talent in this league. Memphis being one of them. New Orleans, you could make a big argument for. You can make a big argument for Charlotte. You can, even though I think the Pistons do have a little bit better talent than Charlotte, you can make a big argument for Atlanta. Like there's quite a few teams that I would consider to have better young talent than the Pistons.
Yeah. The only reason he knocked us down, like the only reason we weren't higher, and I agree with this, is because we didn't really address our problematic 3-point shooting. All we did was bring in Burks, and that was it.
Which that's expected to kind of be a short-term situation anyways.
Yeah, so, which I agree with. We were 29th in the league last year in 3-point shooting percentage.
And they did next to nothing to improve it.
Yeah. This is still going to be a poor team from outside.
Yes, and honestly speaking, with the way the NBA is, if they don't improve that, this team won't win a lot of games. Like, being able to hit the three in this league is honestly priority one. Like, you have to be able to hit the three in this league now, and if you can't, and you're near the end of you're near the bottom of the league in it, you're probably going to finish near the bottom of the league in the standings too.
Yep.
So I'm kind of like, okay, where exactly in the top 10 does he have the Pistons?
I said 10 to be exact.
At 10, okay, because I was going to say I'm probably somewhere in that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I know every move that every other team in the offseason did, because I don't.
I'd say you're lying if you did.
Right. I would probably, if I had to guess, though, put them inside either the early teens or like 11, 12, 13, 14 maybe, just because that's a big glaring issue for me, the fact that, well, they didn't address 3-point shooting. 2, they still don't really have that number 2 guy. We don't know if Jaden Ivey's going to be that guy. 3, and granted, the guys that we would have looked at to fill that spot, one of them is potentially going to jail. And the other one, it didn't matter what offer sheet we gave him, he was going to get matched by the Suns anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But the guys that they did, the additions that they did add, the pieces that they did add to this team, there's a lot of question marks revolving around them. Like Jalen Duren, he's not going to be helping this team win.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years from now, or after this year at best, in my opinion, he'll be a guy that can help this team win. I don't even really expect to be that soon, but and Jaden Ivey's another one that, like, there's a lot of question marks there. We don't know if he's going to be helping this team win or if it's next year's team win.
On the reverse side of that coin, though, like, after knowing you weren't getting DeAndre Ayton or Miles Bridges, you didn't panic sign a bunch of players and throw like needless money at people, and were able to preserve your cap space for the next offseason. Now there's probably going to be a lot more competition next offseason, like you said on previous podcasts. But like, at least you didn't do what's been the propensity of Pistons front office to do for the last couple decades here.
I am wondering how that Marvin Bagley contract is going to pan out to look like with the 3 years at, what was it, 12 mil a year?
Yeah.
Because the back end of that contract, well, he's still young enough to where that's not really, the back end's not going to bother you. But that contract, if he doesn't play, honestly, every bit as good as he did at his best moments last year, it's probably a net minus. And that's one that is going to hamper your cap space for obviously 3 years to come. And you do want to spend a lot of money next offseason to bring in a big name. And we looked at the free agent crops next year, and while it's deep, it's not very high end. Like, yes, you have LeBron James, but again, he's going to be like 100 and probably definitely not coming to Detroit. I think there's literally 2 destinations he could possibly go. LA, Cleveland. That's it. Russell Westbrook, I want nothing to do with him. He's terrible. Chris Middleton. Okay, I'd like to see him come into town, but at a max contract? I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Especially considering he'll be 31 years old.
Yeah.
And he's on a player option that year at 35.5 mil. I don't know that he would decline that.
You can get LeBron.
I said I don't want LeBron. And he ain't coming. He's not coming here. James Harden at 33, no thank you. Also,
did he just sign an
option.
extension anyways with
Oh, yes, he did. You're right. Well, it's a player option year that year, I think, is what he got out of that extension.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I could be. Yeah, it's got to be, because that contract's only for 34.3 mil, so it's got to be the player option. Kyrie Irving, no thank you. Kristaps Porzingis, intriguing, but I'd have to see what his health looks like. Kevin Love, no thank you. He'll be damn near 100. Andrew Wiggins would be interesting. Especially at a position of need on the wing. D'Angelo Russell, nah. Horford, that dude's going to be like 90. Nikola Vucevic, or Vujacic, whatever it is. Vujacevic, I don't know. But no thank you. Harrison Barnes, nah. Jeremy Grant, we just got rid of him. Miles Turner.
Can you imagine?
I would be so pissed. I'll be honest with you, I would be so pissed. Because, again, he's not a guy I think really helps his team. Miles Turner would be nice, but we already have a logjam at the center position. Bojan Bogdanovic, he'll be 34. Could be intriguing, but not really the guy that is electric.
Your number 2. You said,
Right.
We just said we're looking for a number 2.
Karis LeVert, another guy that's not really a number 2. Gary Trent Jr., another guy, not really a number 2. Like, the list is, the further I go down this list, the further away I'm getting from number 2 guys. I'll just point that out. Like, there are some good names here. But the guys you can look at as being your number 1 or number 2.
It's a deep free agent class. It's not a high-end.
Right. And that's where I'm wondering. Like, Miles Bridges, I would probably have taken over almost all of these names.
Yeah. So, like,
I don't want Miles Bridges anymore.
The ideal scenario is that Jaden Ivey at least shows signs that he can be your number 2, and you use next year's free agency class to kind of fill in the gaps on this roster.
You go get an Andrew Wiggins or a Bojan Bogdanovic or Karis LeVert to kind of fill that in. Yeah, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Like, those guys can fill in as a 3 or 4 guy.
But real quick before I move on to the next topic.
Fun fact, Cade Cunningham will technically be a free agent that year unless the Pistons pick up his option.
They will.
Better.
There are a couple names on here in terms of, like, in the top 10 that I'm kind of surprised at how high they rank.
Okay.
Number 3 is the Boston Celtics. They brought in Malcolm Brogdon and Danilo Gallinari, or the people who used to be Malcolm Brogdon and Danilo Gallinari, and then drafted J.D. Davidson in the second round.
So, talking to the Boston Celtics fans that I know, they're actually extremely excited.
About Brogdon and Gallinari?
Yes.
How
Mainly
many combined
Brogdon.
games do you get?
12. One guy's feet are made of glass and the other guy's entirely made of glass.
Like, I get, in theory, you got the quarterback you need with Malcolm Brogdon on this Boston Celtics team.
Yes, you did.
But you want the quarterback to get on the field. Like,
yeah, you do. And he doesn't. Like Malcolm Brogdon, let's look at the last time he's played. When's the last time Brogdon played more than 50 games? Let's see. Actually, 2 years ago. Fun fact. Oh, and he actually did it. So he played 75 in his rookie year.
When was the most recent foot injury?
That I don't know. Last year. He played 36 last year, 56 year before, 54 before that, 64 before that, 48, and 75. If they can get 60 games out of Malcolm Brogdon, I think that's a net plus deal for them. And you could even make the argument of 55 games. If you get 55, if you get 55 games, I still think it's a net plus deal.
60 games with the caveat that he's available for the playoffs.
Yeah, they would absolutely need him in the playoffs. Now, you will remember, you're also talking about a team that went to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And they didn't really lose a whole ton in the offseason either.
Yeah, they lost backup guys. They lost Daniel Tice, Aaron Nesmith.
Which I do think Daniel Tice is a really high-end player. Like I think he's good, so losing him will hurt their depth, especially defensively. But
they did trade their first-round pick next year to get Malcolm Brogdon.
I don't think they care. Why would they care? It's going to be 29th or 30th overall pick. They don't care.
Yeah.
But a roster of Tatum, Brown, RW3, Smart, Horford, Derek White, Grant Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, Danilo Gallinari, Peyton Pritchard. That's a deadly team right there.
Yep.
Like, deadly. So I can see why he has them in the top three there. It's a win now move.
Yeah. Now, number 2 is the Atlanta Hawks, bringing in DeJounte Murray. I mean, that alone, I think, qualifies you.
I do wonder about the fit with Trae Young, but no question.
I'm curious about number 1, because there's a couple different ways you can look at this. On paper,
the Hawks also brought in AJ Griffin in the draft, too, by the way.
It's the Philadelphia 76ers, who brought in PJ Tucker and Daniel House. And we can throw in that they got D'Anthony Melton in a trade from Memphis.
They did also extend James Harden on a discount.
That's what I'm saying. That's probably the big selling point here, is that they extended James Harden. They lost Danny Green, whoop, DeAndre Jordan, whoop, David Roddy, whoop. The big selling point here, I think, is that they were able to retain Jalen Green on a somewhat of a discount. James Harden. Same player.
James Harden provides a lot more at passing and rebounding than Jalen Green.
Yeah, they were able to retain James Harden. Is that enough in your mind to say they had the best offseason in the league?
Not really, no. Like, yes, it's a good offseason for them, but, like, no. Adding PJ Tucker, I do think is a nice piece to add, a really nice piece, especially for your defense.
He was like their top target too, I believe.
Yes, that's a really nice grab for them, but I don't know if it's enough for me to say it was a number 1 offseason. Like it. Yeah.
I'd put the Hawks over them. I'd put the Kings over them.
I'd probably put the Hawks over them for sure. The Kings did have a good offseason. I think they're a little bit disrespected.
But you even have them in the top 5.
Yeah. Who do you have at 4 and 5?
Yeah, the Timberwolves at 5, which I think the Timberwolves had a great offseason.
Wolves had a great offseason. I'd probably put the Wolves over the Sixers.
4 is an interesting one. 4 is the Denver Nuggets.
Are they counting getting Jamal Murray back as one of those?
So they brought in Bruce Brown, KCP, DeAndre Jordan, Ish Smith, all former Pistons.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow, they brought the old Pistons in. God, was that team successful?
Those were their high-end signings. They traded away Monte Morris, Will Barton, JaMychal Green, Austin Rivers, Bryn Forbes. Is it just me or is it not negative? I'm going to say this. As a principle of things, that those players were all on the Pistons for the dark times of Pistons basketball. It's a negative. They had the worst offseason in the NBA. They did extend Jokic, 5 years, $270 million.
That's probably a big one to be able to retain Jokic in Denver.
But they also extended
Denver's
Caldwell
an organization
Pope.
that struggled to keep big time players. So
They also extended KCP. 2 years, $30.1 million.
it's a lot of money for a kid with the nickname Kid Can't Play.
Would you rather pay KCP $15 a year for 2 years or Marvin Bagley $12 a year for 3 years?
Honestly,
You guys can't see the Zoom, but Nick's really struggling right now.
it is kind of tough because like that extra year hurts, in my opinion.
And KCP does fill a need.
I was gonna say, like he does provide some value.
Yeah.
Like, is the value of what Marvin Bagley provides that much different from what KCP provides?
Can I say ask me again next year?
Yes, you may. So, out of curiosity, who was the worst?
I can't. What?
Who was the worst?
Oh, who had the worst offseason?
Like, give me the bottom three.
Bottom three. Here we go. I gotta click on a second article here. Come on, it's loading up. It's taking its sweet time. Okay, here we go. So number 30 was the San Antonio Spurs. Oh, I can't disagree.
Yeah, yes.
They basically lost their entire team.
They full on tanked is what they did. I'm surprised it didn't come with Greg Popovich retiring also.
Number 2, the second worst Indiana Pacers, another team that went full tank mode this offseason.
Yes.
And number 3, worst offseason was the Charlotte Hornets. Miles Bridges to felony domestic violence.
True. Good point. I forgot they lost Bridges. Yeah, that'll hurt.
Oh, shit.
You would be correct, sir.
I'm looking at the write-up. That literally takes up the entire first paragraph is the Miles Bridges stuff.
Just out of curiosity, where did he put the Suns? After throwing the bag at DeAndre Ayton.
It's a great question. It doesn't look like they're in the bottom 10, so they must be somewhere in the middle 10.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's fair. Keeping DeAndre Ayton, I think, was pretty big for them.
Mm-hmm. So, as I think a lot of you guys are listening probably know, James Edwards III of The Athletic put out like a Pistons poll, trying to, like a fan survey on Reddit, just trying to gauge just the temperature of the city on
Yeah.
on
you
the
want to do
Pistons.
it? You want to do the poll?
I was going to just grab a few select questions.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Instead of the whole thing, because
I'm good with
there's some obvious ones to me. Like, are confident the Pistons are in the right direction? I mean, yeah. It's a 98% yes response, by the way, on that.
Oh, it was only a yes response. It wasn't like a rate it 1 through 5.
No, it was yes, no, need more time to decide.
Okay, all right. Now, if you were to kind of spin that question of rate the Pistons direction,
Like how
1 through 5,
confident
how
are
confident
you?
are you in the Pistons direction? What would you rank it?
4. I'd give it a 4. And it would be a 5 if, like, I was fully confident in Jay Ivey being the number 2 guy, but I still need to. I still have questions about. You know, he's the guy I wanted. I still have questions about him that I need to see. This can go south quick if Jay
absolutely.
Ivey turns into like a Reggie Jackson type.
Absolutely.
Like,
am I being a homer to say, like, am I being too much of a homer to say I still kind of think it's a 5?
No, not at all. I really do think
I'm at like I'm over a 4.25, but I'm kind of under a 4.5. So I guess I'd be at a 4. And where your caveat is, like, if you truly believed in Jay Ivey being the 2, like, yeah, I'm kind of right there also. But my other caveat is it would be a 5 if I was truly confident in the way the Pistons are going to spend their their available cap space. Because I don't know how they're going to spend that. And they haven't exactly been good at that in my lifetime.
Yep.
At least recently in the last 10 years. So, like, that's kind of stopping me from hitting the 5. But
Well, there is a question here that kind of hits on that if you want it.
okay, yeah.
It's what is your confidence level in Troy Weaver and the Pistons front office? And there's 4 options here. Very confident, confident, unsure, not confident at all. So what's your level of trust in Troy Weaver, basically?
I'm pretty damn confident in Troy Weaver.
Yeah.
I'm probably more confident in him than I am with the current direction of this team.
Yeah. He isn't giving much of a reason not to be. So.
Right. And we said that the one, like, I will say you can make an argument for the Marvin Bagley signing being the one small X on his record. we were looking at the Jeremy Grant trade as the first big X on his record.
Mm-hmm.
But that you can't even say that anymore because it turned out great, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing chess when everybody else was playing checkers.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, though, to give a true grade on that, I think this is the first year where we can start grading him.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first fair grading year for Troy Weaver because, on both sides, because of the fact that this is the year where I want to start seeing measurable improvement with this team.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't hit that, that's where I'm going to start knocking him down.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first real gradable year for him. But yes, I'm still very confident.
All right. Here's one that basically had the fan base split. Which player needs to take the biggest leap? And he gave you 4 options here. Cade, Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes.
I'll be honest with you, and this is probably not the popular decision.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think it's got to be Cade. And the reason I say that is because for this team to be successful, you need a true superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And Cade's got to be that guy.
He's
your number one
actually
overall
agree with
pick.
you 100%.
You need Cade to take a huge step forward for this thing to work. And I'm not saying he was bad last year by any stretch of the means. He was fantastic. But he needs to start entering his name into the star to superstar category for this thing to actually work well. So for me, it's Cade.
Let's just say it is going to be a bigger detriment if Cade does not improve at all upon his rookie season than if someone like Killian Hayes developed a 3-point shot.
Yep, I 100% agree. Like it's if Cade doesn't become a star in this league, this thing will not work.
Yeah.
I am 100% in belief of that. If he isn't a star in this league, this thing will not work. If Sadiq doesn't take a huge step up, this thing can still work. If Killian doesn't ever get better at basketball, this thing can still work.
Yeah.
But if Cade doesn't become
as long
a star,
as you have that one
this won't work.
superstar level player,
Yes.
you can retool on the fly.
Yes. 100% believe that.
You curious to see what the fans said?
I am curious because I have a feeling that I didn't have the popular pick there.
39.7% of fans sided with you. Okay,
Really? I'm honestly surprised there.
But 43.1% said Killian Hayes.
Okay, all right. See, again, if Killian doesn't ever get better at basketball, this thing can still we can still win.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe that. Because if you have Cade and he is a star level player, you can win. Killian's replaceable at that point.
All right, here's
Can't
another one
replace
for you.
Cade.
I want you to pick someone on this roster that's going to have a breakout season. If you had to call your shot.
If I had to call my shot.
Everybody on the roster is fair game. There's really only 4 that actually got enough votes to really be noticeable in the ranking, or in the result, I should say.
I'm between Sadiq Bey and Marvin Bagley. Kind of in the middle between those two.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the fans at?
Not many said Marvin Bagley. Minimal amount, a sliver.
Kind of surprising,
Marvin
actually.
Bagley.
I thought he would have been a hot
Sadiq
name.
Bey got 21.7% of the vote. Good enough to place him 3rd in that vote.
If Cade takes a big step forward, is that really a breakout season, or did he already have his breakout season?
I've only got a sliver.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm kind of disqualifying Cade from this because I don't really think he can have a breakout season. He's already broken out. Who do you got? Who's ahead of Sadiq?
Ahead of Sadiq with 24.5% of the vote is Isaiah Stewart.
Okay, he was kind of my
3-point shots.
He was
for
kind
real.
of my third name. Was Isaiah?
If that 3-point shots for real.
Juggling that name. Who else you got? Who's number 1?
With 43.4% of the vote, Isaiah Livers.
Michigan slappies. All of you are Michigan slappies. This dude will barely crack the damn lineup on a night in, night out basis.
I still remember though, when Summer League was happening, and I brought up one guy I've been really impressed with has been Isaiah Livers. And then we both agreed, like, okay, like, it's Summer League. Like, there's one thing about being impressed with something performance, but is he actually going to play more than 15 minutes in a regular season game? We're both like, yeah, probably not. Like, 15, 20 is probably his cap.
Yeah.
And
that's like,
and then
on
James
an
Edwards
off night.
comes out with that article saying that he projects him to be the starting three. And then now we have nearly half the fan base saying he's going to be the breakout player.
No. No. I think truly believe that
Summer League reaction plus like some flashes that he showed towards the end of last year.
Yeah, I think so. I firmly believe that, and I could be totally wrong on this, and maybe I'm just being a hater because he's a Michigan boy, but I firmly believe he's behind Alec Burks on the depth chart. And I also believe he should be. Like, Alec Burks has shown that he is a true professional in this league and can play a heavy load of minutes night in, night out, and be productive. Isaiah Livers has not proven a damn thing in this league. And maybe that works in his favor because maybe that means he deserves a shot. Because we know what Alec Burks is. We don't necessarily know what Isaiah Livers could be. But for 43% of people to say that's their breakout candidate, all right. I also want to take a poll on top of that one. How many of you people are Michigan fans?
43.4% of the poll responses were from Michigan fans.
Yeah.
No, but in all honesty, Livers does fill a giant need on this roster.
I don't
he did make more than 40%. He did make more than 40% of his threes as a rookie. He didn't take many because he didn't play much, but he still made more than 40% of them. And the thing that impressed me about the end of his rookie season when I'd made the comment last year, but I was kind of impressed about how much he was able to stay on the floor for. It's because I was impressed by the defensive ability showed off because I thought he was going to be a turnstile in the NBA on defense, and he hasn't been.
Took a decent amount of threes last year. Granted, it's only in a 19-game span, but he took 3.4. He took 3.5 a game.
Yeah, he took 64 total threes.
Yeah. He only played 19 games. He started 5 of them, but he averaged 20.2 minutes, but a lot of those were like COVID games.
But yeah, so what I'm saying is the reason I can see where they're coming from is because he fills a need on the roster in terms of 3-point shooting, and if he can carry over the defense he was playing towards the end of last season into this season, then he'll have the ability to stick on the roster as well, and after that, anything can happen. But that's me trying to be fair. That's all.
and I think you're kind of dead on there. Like I do think he fills a need, and I like Isaiah Livers. I think he's a solid player. I don't see the upside that all these other people are seeing with him. Like it's just not there for me. It doesn't resonate there. But do I think he can be a contributor for about 25 minutes a night on a good team? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But to say he's a breakout candidate, I'd like to see the guys that. Let's just say this.
Like, I'm surprised that Jane Ivey only got a sliver. Like, I would have expected.
I bet you a lot of people disqualified him because he's a rookie. Because I'll be honest with you, I kind of disqualified him because he's a rookie. Like, I don't know that a rookie who's picked in the top 5 can quite be considered a breakout candidate. I consider a breakout candidate as somebody who.
Well, he got more votes than Marvin Bagley.
Which I honestly find that surprising because, like, Marvin Bagley's going to have a big role on this team. He was paid to.
Yeah.
If he's able to produce like 15 and 8 or 18 and 8, like, that's a huge breakout in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, final question. I think this will be an interesting one to go into close on too. Do you expect Cade Cunningham to be an all-star next season?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Before I answer that,
because we kind of touched on this question a couple shows ago too.
If I have a 2-parter for you, and it revolves around Isaiah Livers.
Okay,
One,
yeah.
Does Isaiah Livers average over 25 minutes a game next year?
Wow, I was really going to say 25, you son of a...
and I'll put it at...
Yes, I'm going to say yes.
26.5 is the over-under.
Okay, I'm going to say below. I'm going to say under then.
Under, okay.
Because I think he averages right around 25 minutes a game.
Second part of that question. If a guy who averages 25.5 minutes a game is your breakout player of the year, was this season a disappointment?
Shit, depends how efficient that 25 minutes is. But
I'll be honest with you.
does breakout mean best player on your team? Like,
guy who made the most improvement.
Yeah, the improvement from playing 19 games.
I don't know, man. If the guy who gets the most attention,
he has the lowest bar to clear.
Yes, you're right. He does. But if he's getting the most attention as the most improved player on your team, that's probably not a good thing. If that's what his minutes total is. Because that means Isaiah Stewart didn't really take a big step forward. Same with Sadiq.
My vote's Isaiah Stewart. Don't get me wrong. My vote's
I think
Isaiah
it's
Stewart.
a good vote. I do think it's a good vote. Like I said, that was a guy that I was kind of playing around with in my head. But for me, in my opinion, for Isaiah Stewart to be the breakout guy for this team and have it be a really good thing, I think he's got to be a regular contributor to this team at close to 30 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
Then I won't be concerned. Anyways, now to answer your question, do I expect Cade Cunningham to be an all-star this year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that's a tough question.
I remember we did do a little bit of projecting on his stats, and I remember I had said I'd put him right around 22-7-4, 22-7-5, somewhere right around there.
So to give you
is that enough to make the All-Star game?
So to give you a comparison to guys that I would consider to be kind of in similar air as like a highly rated draft pick, young star now, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, Trae Young, all guys that were taken in the top 3 of their draft, including one number 1 there. Yeah, one number 1. And you know what? I'll even go back a little bit further. Actually, I think I don't even have to go back that far with this because I think it's the same draft as Trae Young. Oh, no, it's not. Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. So there's 2 more guys. Of those names, 1, 2, 3 of them were all-stars in year 2.
Yeah.
So of the 5 names, 3 of them were all-stars in year 2.
Who'd you name again? I'm sorry. Can you?
Trae Young, Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic.
What about LaMelo Ball? You made the All-Star last year.
Did he really?
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball's an interesting one. He was an all-star last year. So there's 6 names. 4 of those 6 did make the all-star team as a sophomore. The ones that didn't were Jason Tatum and Ja Morant. They both made it their 3rd year.
Yep.
You know what? I'm going to say yes. I do expect it because, in my opinion,
based on history, you're basing it on.
I'm basing it on not on comparisons to his peers, along with what I expect the jump that Cade makes. Like the jump that LaMelo Ball made, 20.1 points, 7.6 assists, 6.7 rebounds. How far off is that from what we expect Cade to be? I expect Cade to be above that, honestly, in points and scoring, around 22 points per game. I expect him to be a little bit below that with assists and rebounds. Rebounds around 5, assists around 6, but 22, 6, and 5 with some steal numbers in there and some block numbers in there. Yeah, that's all-star worthy in my mind. As long as he can get the shooting numbers up. Well, LaMelo Ball shot 39% from 3, so that helps. But 43% from the field's not that great.
Yeah.
Honestly, I expect Cade to be an all-star.
Am I being a negative Pistons fan by saying, like, I think he can put up all-star numbers but still get snubbed because Detroit?
No, I think you're right on the button. Like, looking at the guys who did make
how many people are making all-stars from bad teams?
What?
How many people made an all-star from a bad team last year?
LaMelo Ball. From last year?
Even then. Yeah, didn't they make did Detroit make the playoffs last year or no?
I can't remember. I think they were a playing team, actually.
The whole point I'm trying to make is that I think what's going to keep Cade out is the fact that he's not going to be playing on a team that is getting national coverage to,
Do you think that the Spurs were a really good team last year?
They were not a really good team last year.
DeJounte Murray was an all-star on that team. Karl Anthony Towns and the Wolves was an all-star. Fred VanVleet with the Raptors. They made the playoffs. So did the Wolves. Darius Garland, Jared Allen. The Cavs were a solid team. LeBron with the Lakers, but they weren't a good team.
Yeah, but it's LeBron.
Yes, it's LeBron.
That's. I'm not talking about the fan vote portion. Like
I'm just giving you what the All-Stars.
The fan vote's a popularity contest.
Okay. All right. Then 1 in DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can kind of be on board with that. But how good were the Mavs in that season when Luka made it, or the Pelicans when Zion made it his second year, or the Hawks in Trae Young's second year? Like, I'm actually not sure, to be completely honest with you. I really don't know for sure, but I think it's.
What do you mean
possible.
you don't have an NBA encyclopedia in your brain?
No, I don't.
That can pull up records of every team from any season?
I do not.
It's disappointing.
Comparing. Now, to be fair here, comparing the seasons that some of these guys had to make that All-Star team, that's where it kind of becomes a little bit tougher for Cade, because the numbers that these guys had in their second years when they made an All-Star. Zion, 27 points, 7 rebounds. Luka was like 28.8 points, 8 or 9.5 rebounds, 9 assists. Trae Young was...
I'm sure the Mavs at least won like 40 games or above 500 in each of those seasons.
Trae Young in his second year when he made the All-Star game was 29.5 points, 9.3 assists, 4.3 rebounds. Like, the numbers to what Cade would put up are not close compared to these guys. Like, I don't expect Cade to be around 30 points.
It's just the reality of the All-Star game. You need
right.
It's heavily favored to people on good teams.
It is. And with that being said, like, I also think if you're looking at sophomore players, especially on not so great teams, you need to give it no doubt to really make it in my mind.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm kind of talking myself out of this a little bit, because looking outside of LaMelo Ball last year, all of these guys gave it no doubt.
Yeah.
Like, you're not snubbing a guy scoring 28 points a game along with 9.5 rebounds. You're not snubbing that.
And, like, you got to look at the phrasing of the question, too. It's not, can Cade Cunningham be an All-Star next season? It's, do you expect Cade Cunningham to be an All-Star next season?
So I'm going to change my tune. My answer is no.
You curious to hear the fan vote?
Yes.
It's 60-40.
Wow.
60 no, 40 yes.
Okay. All right. I think that's fair. I think the 40, honestly, after I kind of broke all that down, I think the 40 is a little high. Like, it's going to take a no-doubter season or half season or three-quarter season, really. And I don't know that Cade's numbers are going to be close enough to that.
And real quick, just for fun, what percent of Pistons fans do you think were happy with the teal uniform being brought back?
80.
Pretty damn close. 76%.
All right. I mean, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, those are the only ones I want to touch on from that fan survey. Thank you, James Edwards, for doing that.
I was just about to say thank you to James Edwards on that one from The Athletic. But that is going to close it out for this week, guys. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast, as always, at Detroit Podcast, where you can find them. Andrew, thank you for joining me, and thank you guys for listening.
Yes, sir.
This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Catch us next week. We'll talk a little bit more about Hard Knocks, maybe break down week 2. We'll see how much starters play, and hopefully we get some more Pistons news as we get closer. But anyways, thank you guys again. Have a good week and weekend. See you later.
Deuces.